This will be a tough act to follow after Dave. He was the CPO when I was at 𝒕𝒉�𝒂𝒂 like, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago or something. We briefly crossed paths. So this will feel like we are going one after the other in planning. We haven't, but I'll tell you why. My whole talk is about culture. So Dave had a slide about culture. This whole talk is about that. Let's go through it. And please, like I said, it'll be a little bumpy. I haven't practiced this a lot, but it'll be a fun story. So why do I do this talk? I do this talk internally a lot for new engineers, PMs, etc. So I've been in most of the build functions. I've been fortunate to be on multiple sides of building. I've been in many domains, very consumery, very deep tech, various kinds. Been at lots of different companies, seed, series A, large, meta. We don't sell data, and and ads are still good. Seen multiple stages. As a sense of scale, ads.org is, this public numbers, 120 billion in revenue. Some of the areas and orgs I support drive 10 to 20 billion, so that's like $1 billion incremental each year added. And these are the org sizes. Me and my wife build things on the side. So through and through, tinkerer, builder. Why do I talk about this? If I zoom out, my simple story is 6, 7 years at startup scale-ups, 6, 7 years at the big bad tech. Actually I resigned last week. I'm next going to Monzo as VP of Product and Engineering. Across all of this, the common thing was culture. And sometimes we don't understand what culture is. Sometimes it feels like, oh, what the CEO said, posters on the wall, things like that. I want to talk about what does culture actually mean. It will hurt if you change culture. I want to talk about that. So let's go through this. Here's my take on stages of org culture, what happens in culture. Stage 0. Every company has gone through this. Stage 0, there's commercial people, there is like people who know the market, and they go, oh, we will crack this, but product engineering sucks. They're slow, we don't have data platform is coming, something, right? This is stage 0. Stage 1, and I'm really sorry, I'm saying this at an agile conference. Process police. Let's get scrum masters, let's measure velocity, charts, burn up, burn down. Is 1 point equal to a Mercedes? Is it equal to fruits? Different things, right? Then come outcome. So here, you were very company focused. Then you become customer focused, like Dave said. Outcomes for the customer. Measurable goals, qualitative, quantitative, less focus on that rigid, by-the-book things. Then you go into controllable inputs. You go, okay, outcomes are lagging. How do outcomes come? What happens before an outcome? Then you go into that. Even less process focus, less rigid process. Right. Well, and this slide is loading. Let's give it a good pause. Maybe because this has a picture. Let's. Oh, sorry. Let me. I'll give it 30 seconds if it loads. It was a funny slide. Okay, I'll tell you the joke. So controllable inputs, right? You'll see companies obsess about outcomes, KPIs, and this and that. But then really, you see the company that sort of invented or popularized OKR, John Doerr and Google, Sundar Pichai, who's on this slide, says reward effort, not outcomes. And people are sometimes up in arms about that. They go, what does that mean? Outcome is everything and all of that, right? But the thing is, and Amazon does that. Jeff Bezos had this great statement saying, we make so many billions, but we spend very little time looking at revenue. We look at what we can control, and the revenue follows. So that's the next change that happens. And then finally, once you've gone through this sort of like internal look, external look, then you go into how do I build this sustainably at any company, any stage, size, scale? How do we do this? It is a system. So this is what I want to zoom into. Culture is what you reward and promote. It's not what's on your wall. It's not your posters. I've been 6 years at Facebook. I've been part of a lot of promotion committees, both for PMs, engineers, designers, seen how this works there. So I just want to talk you through some examples that we did. And one of the first philosophies, if you want to go there, you have to believe if you use your function X to do Y, then you're only using 30% of their brain power. So engineers can be great PMs. PMs can be great builders. Designers can be strategists. You have to really believe that. So let's see examples from Meta. Just got some numbers. At a steady state in 𝒂𝒑𝒂, each engineer is sort of a powerhouse. We're like mini VCs. We go, are we utilizing them properly? Are we doing the right thing by the customers? So companies do succeed by this. And I love this quote. I sometimes say this to new PMs when they join, that you're not actually a PM. You're a general manager. Everybody on your team is a PM. They're a founder. They're a mini founder for their area. So let's see what that looks like. I've said engineers are POCs. They write their own specs. They do their own thing. What does that actually look like? So these are examples and talks I've given internally. So this is a common thing. An engineer from outside joins Meta, and this is written by one of our tenured managers, and they have a horrible time initially because they're expected to do everything apart from code, which is write their own product definition, look at their own data, work with designers. So they're like, oh, why am I the PM? There is a PM. And this is a constant thing. So we support people through that. We train them. We never assign tasks to engineers or designers. We share context. We share the customer outcomes we want, the business metrics we will track. So treat people like brains, not hands. Similarly, we coach engineers to estimate impact for the customer or the business in under 2 hours. So we run sessions. We say, hey, why do you need a data science? We also support them to take multi-year foundational big bets that have a long path to full customer value or business value. So we invest in a lot of this to codify. Then the other bit is, how can you do this? So these are all examples, right? Yep, Meta does this. A lot of other companies do this. But how did they get here? This is not net new knowledge. If you read any book, particularly Marty Kagan talks about this very sort of vocally in Empowered series and all of that. But how do you get there, really? And I feel sort of semi-qualified to say this because I've done this at many companies, including Meta, when we started new teams there or stood up new areas from the ground up. So let's talk through 5 systems that you have to align. So first, you have to recruit like this. As an example, our PMs have a round on engineering basics. We don't go as deep as probably Google does, but we do. Our engineers have a round on product strategy. Our designers have a round on measurement and metrics. So it starts there. Next system, expectation setting. Expectation for every function broadly is exactly the same. It has these 4 things. I'm simplifying. But what is today's external landed impact? Not your function's landing impact. Not, I wrote a great strategy document, my test coverage is better. How did that change the life of a customer? How did that make Meta stronger? How did that help your peers? Tomorrow's business, what should we do next? How does that work out? Quality and craft, which is, all of that is good, but I know Meta gets sort of a bad rep sometimes of our product quality and sometimes our extreme testing and all that. We have a very clear focus on quality and craft, which is, forget all metrics measurement. Are you proud you built this as an engineer, as a designer, as a PM, as a marketer? And then people. If you build great products but nobody wants to work with you, then we don't want you. So here's an engineering example of how this plays out across levels. So E3, which is our starting engineering grade, they're very item one, which is execution, land impact for customers and business. E4 start going towards item two. If you're in E5, which is like a senior engineer grade, then you have to do 2 and 3. Without that, you will never reach that. And if you're E7, E8, which is senior manager, PM director, then you are a PM. If you met people at Meta, you couldn't tell who's a PM, who's not a PM. What is the next system? Promotions. Meta really links this to its incentives. We have higher bonuses. We have higher stock options. If you get good ratings, you have faster promotions. We have cross-functional promotion panels. I am both happy and sad to say I have helped and stopped many engineering promotions because of them. And likewise, like I've sought engineering leaders or design leaders' help to support PM promotion cases and see if they're well-rounded or not. It will hurt. There will be some dissent. There will be some dissent. When new people come in, they'll go, oh, but I worked like this there. I read this book. I did that. And you have to, of course, you want to hear all ideas, but your culture is your culture, right? You have to be open, but you also have to hold the line. Because if you don't hold the line, it's a poster on the wall, like I said. So we've often moved people into different roles. We've sent them on coaching, training. We've forced this cross-functional nature. Similarly, PMs are deeply incentivized for engineering team health. No PM can come to us and say, my strategy is great, but there are bugs in the product. It's the EM's fault or the tech lead's fault. We go, no, this is yours. You're a team. There's no just bugs in the product. That is the product. So I regularly ask this question, that if I remove the PM, if a PM is in a team for 6 months, then I remove them, will the team be better product thinkers for the customer, for their peers, for the company? If they're not, then the PM is not acting like a GM. They're not adding value. Same thing happens with EMs. We pair engineering managers, PM managers as co-founders, general managers of an area. They're co-accountable for everything. And here's an example that stayed with me. There's this engineering VP who was sort of giving this talk. And I asked them, what does this mean to you? And they said, here's my career example. I worked on this version 1 product, version 0 product. It failed. It failed because our market insight or entry point was not right. The market was not ready. But I got dinged for it as an engineering leader, not just the product marketeer or PM. Because you're the general manager. It's not your job to just write code or just do this. If the market is never there, why are you writing code? What are you doing it for? Like, are you doing it for your functional coverage, for writing better code, for something else? Don't. So that's pretty much all the stories. I'll wrap it up with leaving you with some food for thought of how to do this in your own companies. What do you have to change? No blame shifting. Engineers can't say this, PMs can't say this. No spoon feeding. If you want to build products, you have to think end to end. I've worked in many companies where Amanda and I have worked together in some of those, where there'd be a edge case missed out, or a bug, or a little bit of a up and down in the UX flow. And somebody in engineering or QA would go, I did my job. Look at my TDD. Look at my acceptance criteria. Look at my JIRA. So I'm great. And we'd call them to a side and we'd go, no, that doesn't matter. The outcome is not there. When you were designing, when you were writing code, were you not playing with it? Were you not playing the customer? Were you not thinking of this holistically? And if you were not, then why shouldn't we outsource this to the cheapest possible location? If we can codify everything and just get engineering rules out of you, then it should just be a cost center play, right? We want cross-functional teams co-located because they're all building together, thinking together. Accountability for all functions. Culture is all good. Autonomy is great. But what does that mean? It means when you fail together. It means when you succeed together. And you don't penalize failures, you learn from them, you celebrate them, but you call out, hey, this happened, this should not happen, etc. And then finally, you don't need big budgets or huge buy-in to do this. You need to believe this, you need to start small. As an example, in early days in Moonpig Photobox, where this culture wasn't fully embedded then, the founder, Graham Hobson, was there, Ian Martin, he was the MD. They were there. They were deep believers in this, but in smaller teams, instead of changing the full culture, writing a new system of evaluation, we would just work with a few engineers who already think like this. And me as the PM lead, I would make sure their careers are well protected, they're rewarded, and vice versa. So there are people already around you who want to work like this. Don't stop them. Don't penalize them for their functional thing. Reward them. This is a second bullet point that Dave's presentation drilled home for me. It doesn't matter what your internal story is. Your story is your external story. It's not your local things. And I think when I sometimes do this talk internally and then new joiners, they go, yeah, but look at Meta, look at Apple. What's the difference? Apple does high polish. Meta culture is move fast, break things. By the way, we updated that to say move fast sustainably. But in the year of efficiency and layoffs and all that, you don't want to do inefficient bets. But this isn't a recipe for low quality or badly designed products. This is a recipe actually for customer success. If you look at any founder, they initially worked like this. Then they became big. They hired functional C-levels. Some of them thought like this. Some of them said, no, PM runs like that. Eng runs like that. And they started fighting with each other. Then the founder said, oh, I need to exit now. I can't tolerate this. I'll get a professional CEO who'll look after this. Don't let that story happen with your company. So finally, you don't need a big budget. You need a mindset shift. If you do this, I can promise you, no matter your company size, and me and my wife build products on the side. She is the engineer, I'm the PM. I push her. I go, you're not doing this well. Or sometimes I'm the front-end engineer. She pushes me. But this works. This really works. You'll find your people are happier. Your customers are happier. You're faster. You're more successful. I mean, you can't deny that Meta is not successful. Google is not successful. Amazon is not successful. Most of these companies have this culture. And then last bit, it is hard work. You will need to align systems across the board. It won't come for free. There will be ups and downs. You have to work through it. You have to keep your sort of eyes on that final prize, which is happier people, short-term success, and big long-term money. I wish each one of you becomes a $100 billion company. And here are some examples. In Threads and Instagram, it was not built by a huge set of people. It was built in 3 months by 5 to 10 people who were very senior, very cross-functional. Again, you couldn't tell who's the PM, EM engineer in that group. They built it. Zuck, Adam Mosseri, they blessed it. They would dog food it daily. We have this heavy culture of dog fooding. All leaders are expected to know the details of their product. You can't be a consultant. You can't be an armchair saying, do this right thing. Go play with your product. Be the customer. And then you'll need to align systems across the board. You'll need to pay like this. You'll need to hire like this. You'll need to fire like this. You'll need to promote this. If you do this, you will get there. Thank you.